Hello YouTube, welcome to another Green Dragons Gaming Club Battle Report. Without us, they never feel like winners. Without them, we couldn't look so good. This is another Pretty Boy Bat Rep, and this is round 2 of BattleCry GT. For those of you that have been following, my first match I got a big win, and now I'm playing on table 1, and we're in our own little separate room, which is pretty cool. And it was this... Anyone playing on the top table, they had like live audio and visual feed. I'm not sure what the feed was to how that worked, but that was kind of different. Anyway, I am playing Michael Anderson, who I've not played before, so that's cool. Get a new opponent, and he's playing Empire of the Sandstal, so we'll see how my list does. This is the list. Feel free to pause it, take a look over. Alright, and here's the board. Now, unfortunately, for this game, his army is not painted, so not much we can do about that. But anyway, maybe he'll be inspired now after this tournament to paint. We'll see. On the left, he's got a unit of 6 knights. I forget all the different names for the Empire Knights, but they're their typical one-up armor save knights. Then he's got a unit of demigriffs. Then he's got a unit of 20 handgunners. Dead center, moving on up already, is just a giant unit of Imperial Guard with great weapons, and he's got 2 characters in there. He's got his BSB, and he has an Inquisitor in there, so that's got Death Star written all over it. In the back, between the 2 trees, are his 2 buff wagons. One is the Arcane Altar thing. It gives lightning reflexes, which is really nasty, actually, because that means that Imperial Guard unit, even though they have great weapons, are hitting at agility. So they're hitting at like agility 4, which is terrible for my army. And then the other one, his general's on it. I believe he's a prelate, and he's the one that gives like hatred bubble. He gives extra orders. He has spells, all sorts of stuff. Yet another unit of handgunners. And then on the hill is a cannon. And finishing off is another unit of 6 knights. So, decent amount of shooting, a lot of magic. He's got a lot of bound spells, and he does have like an adept level wizard, I believe, as well. And then just a big Death Star. So, it's going to be a tough one to crack. We are playing Hold the Center, and trying to think of the deployment. It's not coming to me now. I don't know if it matters, but let's just go back. That's not a really good pick. Let's see. Alright, here's my deployment. So, I have the spiders. I am trying to overload this one flank a bit. I want to kill that cannon, because I don't want that cannon shooting off my Wyvern or Pac-Man. So I have Wyvern, I have Pac-Man, I have 2 giants. The building and the 1 giant are protecting my flyers for now. Then I got spiders in the middle, bunker in the back, feral orcs dead center, iron orcs creeping up on the hill, giant to help over there, and then the scrap wagon on that side to go after those knights. Now, a little spoiler alert, this is my worst game of the tournament gameplay-wise, just in terms of my own play. And you might have noticed I made a couple mistakes already in deployment. So this is going to be like a nice battle report for what not to do in your own games. So one of the keys to my army is playing the chaff correctly. And the chaff in the center is okay. He actually dropped, I remember, Michael dropped everything to go first. So I'm just trying to stay out of range for his first round shooting. He has tons of orders. Basically, both of his handguard units have accurate, which is really scary, and he can shoot in 3 ranks with them, so I don't want to give him anything free. Everything pretty much in deployment I've kept out of shooting range, except for, let's go back a picture, these spiders on the right, which for some reason I decided to vanguard up, and not only are they in range, but they are in clear line of sight for the 1 unit of handgunners all the way on the right. And they're out of my General's leadership bubble and my BSB's leadership bubble. So yeah, I'm basically handing him a free unit of chaff. Um, and in his first turn of shooting, he kills all of them with that handgunner unit. So yeah, that was a terrible choice in deployment for me. Anyway, nothing else really happens. You can kind of see how he moved. He just pushed his one Death Star unit up to put pressure on me in the center. And my whole plan here is to try and break through one of the flanks and then converge in the middle if possible. Sorry for the bad picture. These cards are terrible. I'll rectify them for the next tournament. But in my turn, I get Bewitching Glare on his Imperial Guard unit, and he makes a conservative play and just decides to be shaken, which is nice. And then you can see my spiders also move up to chaff them, just in case. And this is how the board looks. I move my Ironworks up onto the hill so that they can get rerolls to their charge range. I gave them +1 to their movement, so now they can keep a lot of his stuff at bay. The only problem is that his handgunners can now shoot at them. And the other giant comes around to support, put pressure on that flank. Ferals move up a bit, threatening the center. And right now I'm just trying to deal with that cannon. So I move Pac-Man over to deal with the knights because I think he can handle them just fine. And I'm sending the one giant to go kill the cannon. Otherwise, the other giant and the wyvern are facing the center, just in case his Imperial Guard get a little froggy. Alright, and then this is in his turn. He's doing a bunch of magic and shooting. He has divination magic as well, so he puts 4 wounds on the one giant, making him really angry. I think that was a cannon shot. Puts a couple wounds on the other giant. And then shooting, his handgunners go off and nearly kill this giant, but he hangs on until, yeah, he shoots something else at them, and then this one goes down. So that was unfortunate. That's one giant really early. Then his handgunners open up here. Luckily, he only kills one guy, it looks like. So, perfectly happy with that. And then in my turn. Yeah, I'm still kind of sitting back. I can't deal with that Imperial Guard unit with all the buffs. Even without magic, they're just incredibly difficult. I need to pour like everything into them. And yet, on his flanks, I'm not pressing hard enough. I should have been much more aggressive this game, and I should have deployed differently. And yeah, I'm just playing a very conservative game. My scrap wagon moves up way too far, so he can charge it if he wants, but I'm setting up the giant to countercharge him if he does. And at this point, his demigriffs can charge me. It's a longish charge, but I believe I tried to make the long bomb charge with my Ironworks, and I just failed. Just trying to see if with the reroll if I can make a long charge and break through his lines there. In the center, obviously, I'm continuing to just chaff up the Imperial Guard. I'm trying to chaff up his chariot as well to keep it pinned there. Pac-Man goes into his knights, so I'm thinking he'll just make quick work of them, and then maybe he can go after the cannon. All right, so that is that. In Magic, I get Twisted Effigy off on the cannon, so the cannon can't shoot, which is pretty awesome. And I get Bewitching Glare back on the Imperial Guard. So they're stuck there again. And combat goes well. I kill 4 of these guys, which is not an easy feat, but luckily I have a lot of Strength 6, AP3 attacks. He does a wound back to me, but he rolls low in his leadership and sticks, so we're going to be grinding that out a bit, which is unfortunate. In his turn, he makes the Feralworks flammable, but doesn't really matter. And then he starts either shooting or magic missiling, and this giant's nearly dead, which is not good. His handgunners are picking off more of my Ironworks, again, not good. Yeah, I'm just playing into his game. I'm staying back. I'm not forcing the issue, and he's perfectly content to just shoot my army to bits. And we're tied for the center objective right now because we both have 1 unit within 6 inches and nobody's blinked yet. In this combat, it's a pillow fight and we're still stuck there. So a little disappointed in Pac-Man. And then on my turn, Yeah, the green dragon just gets a little overeager, fails frenzy, and goes into this Imperial Guard unit, which is not the end of the world, because I do need to deal with those characters, and who better than this guy? I'll be going first with my attack, so I can pick off his BSB and maybe get lucky with the Wyvern going after his Inquisitor. So we'll see what happens. And then to get him in, I charged my spiders out of the way, which you could tell before we're in a conga line formation, and they had more than enough room to get into the cannon. So that's nice. Hopefully I can deal with that. Iron Orcs try to make another long bomb charge, and they fail. So, yep, they're stranded again for another round of shooting. My giant charges his unit of knights, and they fail their terror check and run off the board. So that's nice. So I'm finally getting a little momentum on one flank. And then in my magic phase, I get the wheel turns off on this unit, which is awesome. Meaning that instead of wounding me on 3s, he's wounding me on 4s, which should help out a little bit. Maybe I can survive that. In combat, down the bottom, Pac-Man takes another wound, kills one more knight. It's just, I believe, the unit champion left, or the standard bearer, and he's still sticking around. So that combat's gone on a lot longer than I thought it would. Up at the top, the cannon holds. My spiders whiff. He actually does a wound to me, and then, yeah, I kind of just leave the spiders like that. In the combat in the center, you can see my Wyvern is missing. So another blunder that I make, I do not challenge. I don't know why. Even if he feeds me a champ, it's okay. I automatically win combat. He'll hold, but then the next round I can then go after the characters and it pins him in place. Instead, I actually said I'm not going to challenge. He did not want to challenge himself. I went, luckily, the Feral Orc on top killed his BSB, so that was nice. The Wyvern, who was going first, struck at the Inquisitor and did 2 wounds to him, so nearly killed him. If he had, I might have had a chance to survive, but unfortunately the Inquisitor struck back, and who knew this, but apparently Inquisitors do multi-wounds. D3 or D3 plus 1, something like that. I had no idea, and the Inquisitor himself just basically popped the Wyvern. So, yeah, not the best trade, but not having a BSB is also an issue for him for things like terror checks and bewitching glare, and maybe if I can get into combat with him and force him to take a break test, even on bodyguard, he might fail that. So that's something, some points there. Alright, and then Empire turn, he's moving up closer. He's really not playing aggressively either, though. He's playing very conservative. He's bringing his buff wagons up. He plans on killing the giants, so he's not worried about that. And yeah, he's just, he hasn't really, I don't think, even tried to charge with that unit yet. He's just really pressing the issue, wanting me to make a move. Yeah, and he kills this giant, so that's the second giant that goes down. Nothing else of note happens, except Pac-Man finally finishes off this knight unit, so yeah, you got a couple units of knights. The spiders finally do their job and kill the cannon, which is awesome. And now I'm in an interesting position because I get a free pivot, and I could possibly charge one of those chariots in the flank. So on my turn I do. And I decide not to go after the general's chariot. It's just, he's too beefy in combat. My spiders are not going to do enough. I'm just going to lose them. But the other chariot is really not all that good, especially if it's not charging and doesn't have impact hits. So I'm thinking, charge flank, maybe I do a wound or 2. If nothing else, I hold it up, but if I get lucky, I can break it and then run it down, which would be superb. So I go for it, I charge in there. My Feral Orcs pass their Frenzy check, which is good, because they can't handle that unit one-on-one. They just can't. And I can't back up either, because I need to stay within range of the objective. So what I'm hoping is, and this is really the only hope I have, is that he charges in. I do a ton of wounds to him before I die completely, and then I'll countercharge with the Iron Orcs and the Giant, where you see there, and see if I can mop up. But I'm really worried that's not going to be enough. And you can see my goblins are just trying to get the heck out of there. And Swift Reform and move that way. Pac-Man is also up on the hill. He's out of line of sight of the handgunners, and he's facing towards the center to help out any way he can. And in combat, I think I do 1 wound to his chariot. He does a wound to me. He might have done... Actually, I think he did more than that. I think he did like 2 or 3 wounds to me. And I think it's just a push. So I don't get lucky, but at the same time, at least I hold the chariot up for a turn. So now it's Empire turn, and surprisingly, he does not charge the Imperial Guard into the Feral Orcs. I actually asked him this after the game, and he explained to me that if he charged, then he would be out of the range of the one buff wagon that's stuck with the spiders, and that's the one that gives him lightning reflexes. So if he charged in, I would be going first, and I'd just be killing so many of his guys before he got to attack. Okay, I mean that's a fair assessment of the situation. I can understand his logic, but I think he could have taken that unit and been fine. I mean, he's going to go in still with way more guys than me. He can send the chariot in too for impact hits. It's his magic phase, and then he just turns to face. But I guess he's worried that he's just going to bleed way too many bodies in the process. So, again, just playing very conservatively and continuing this Mexican standoff we've got going on. Terrible picture, but he gets some spell off on the Feral Orcs, which I just let go because I don't really care at this point. I'm not going to touch that unit in the center unless I know that I can crush it. And I really need to get rid of the buff wagons in order to do that. In combat, the spiders finally break. The lone spider runs away. And he had actually did a swift reform with his handgunners to try to shoot Pac-Man, but being unwieldy and the fact that I'm hard target, he wasn't able to get that last wound through, which was nice. Okay. Let's see. I think this is my turn. The goblins reposition. The Feral Orcs are just going to sit there. I again go for a charge on the Demigrowths with the Iron Orcs. Just trying to pick up some extra points, and I fail the charge again. Even with all these rerolls. I mean, they're long charges, but I'm just hoping one of these times I'm gonna make it. I actually move my characters out of the Goblin unit, as you can see, because he is within charge range with his chariot and even the Imperial Guard, so just going to keep them safe behind the building. My mage had hurt himself by eating a toxic mushroom, so that's why there's a wound marker there. Pac-Man, I think, failed an easy charge, and so now is really vulnerable to the handgunners, which really sucks, and the other spider just keeps fleeing. In Magic Phase, I think I use my other Magic Mushroom to push through this Bewitching Glare, and he has no choice, really. Well, I shouldn't say that. He has a choice, but on a one-time Leadership 7 roll, yeah, he's just going to stay shaken. So I now know that I'm safe from that Imperial Guard unit for the rest of the game. They can't charge me now. And then I get Twisted Effigy on this handgunner unit, so they can't shoot at my Iron Orcs. So at this point, let me just go back. At this point in the game, this is getting into turn 6. His handgunner units are too far back to get to the center. And right now, it's just his Imperial Guard and my Feral Orcs in a Mexican standoff. No one's gotten the objective. But because his handgunners are so far back, I know I'm going to win the objective. Because my goblins are in position to march 8 inches and easily get in range for bottom of 6 to turn the objective to me. So at this point, I'm continuing my wimpy gameplay of just going for a small win. I figure I'm up on points, maybe like a little bit, and then I'll win the objective and get like a 13-7, at worst a 12-8, and then maybe if I can get some points on the last turn, maybe like a 14-6. That's really what I'm going for at this point. Now, The one charge he made, which was unexpected, was the Demigriffs into the Iron Orcs, because he has shut off some of the Iron Orcs, but it's still a pretty healthy unit. And the whole game, he has been backing these Demigriffs up every time I charge him to make it harder and harder for me to charge. But I guess on turn 6, he's saying screw it. I mean, personally, I thought this was an error on his part. Because, yeah, I mean, he's going to be strong maybe on the charge, but I'm going to go great weapons. I have my general in there. If not this round, I think definitely in the next round of combat, I'll break this unit and win that grind. But got to give him credit. He's going for it. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's just a picture of them hiding. Nothing really going on. And yeah, and his handgunners are going to try to take out Pac-Man. So, in Magic, he improves the armor on the Demigriffs, which sucks for me. And then, yeah, you know that whole thought about me wanting him to make this charge? So, he makes the charge, and he wins combat, which is fine. You know, I kind of figured, yeah, he might win combat on the charge or whatever. I obviously did some wounds to him. I took out a Demigriff. But I Bodyguard on Leadership 9, and I fail it. And he chases me down. He chases down my general and the whole unit of Iron Orcs in the last turn of the game. Luckily, the Giant did not panic, but yeah, that was about an 1,100 point swing. So things are not looking quite as good as they were. Yeah, and then in my turn 6, I'm taking the objective. I march the goblins up, and then I'm going for a Hail Mary. I decide to charge Pac-Man because Pac-Man survived again against all odds from the shooting. I decide to send Pac-Man into the flank of his general. I would have gone into the other chariot if he was closer, but I figure I'm going to go into the general. My Pac-Man's only worth 145 points, so I don't really care if he dies. It's not going to make a difference in the game. But I've charged flank. If his general fails to kill me, I should do at least a few wounds to him, and I can break him and run him down, and that'd be a huge point swing, and also just cause tons of panic in the center with his Imperial Guard, the other chariot. I don't know if the other handgunners are in range, but it could really be a big swing. Oddly enough, that last spider rallies, so woohoo! Save half points. And then at the end of the game, Pac-Man does a couple wounds to him, but he ends up killing Pac-Man in return, which, hey, what are you going to do? So I took a gamble, didn't quite pay off. At the end of the game, he was clearly up on points because he just got a huge amount of points from that Iron Orc unit, but I won the objective. So in the end, it was really tight, but I ended up losing 9-11. This was a really fun game, if not the most bloody game, certainly. But, you know, I got to hand it to Michael. He played well. And, yeah, it was a little unlucky that I failed that Leadership 9 roll more times than not I'm going to make it. But I kind of felt like I deserved it. You know, I just felt like I played such a wimpy game. But I'll get into that in a minute. So as far as MVPs, I definitely, his Demigriffs clearly won him the game. Otherwise, he was looking at a small loss. So that gamble paid off from big time. And then for me, again, my army didn't really kill all that much, but I got to give it to Pac-Man. I mean, Pac-Man took out a unit of knights, which was great. And then he put himself into a position to possibly win me back the game. You know, he survived 2 rounds of shooting from handgunners, and then he went in against his general. So that was pretty awesome. So that was an exciting last turn. So good job for Pac-Man. As far as what's the lesson that we could take away from this game is don't play like a wimp. You know, especially like for me, I'm playing a very aggressive list, and I did not play it aggressively at all this game. I should have deployed differently. What I was thinking about doing, and I ended up chickening out, was I should have put the Feral Orcs, or one of my blocks, either the Feral Orcs or the Iron Orcs dead center, and then had the other block on the flank and tried to sweep them across, because he really had nothing that could stop them. And that way it puts pressure on his Imperial Guard. That's what I should have done. But even barring that, I just did not press the issue. I should have just gone hog wild and pushed all the units up and played the target saturation game. But I played a bad game. I played to his strengths, and I let him pick off my units one by one. I played way too conservatively. I was going for the small win. So it is what it is. But it's only game 2. Getting 9 points is obviously a really great loss if you're going to lose. So I think I'm down to like table 4 or 5 now. So we'll see if I can maybe get back up to the top couple tables and stay up there for the rest of the tournament. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. I appreciate it. Hope this is a good bat rep for you guys. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.